we're getting down into the teens for several hours. There could be a 36-hour period that we don't even get above freezing. So this is the one that's going to knock out a lot of plants. Normally I don't take time to really cover my plants. I really have learned to appreciate the toughest of the toughest. I have a couple patches of some cute ground covers that I really love. Those are the two that I'm going to cover, and they're just really small patches. But the same method that I'm going to use to cover them is basically what I would do if I have to cover a whole garden. It is the same exact method where I used freeze cloth and landscape staples. This is one of them. This is called Stonecrop, and it's a really great little compact ground cover that does an amazing job of keeping weeds suppressed. And it's taken me a couple years to get this patch as big as it is, and to just get like one little 3-gallon bucket of this is anywhere from $7 to $10. It would probably cost me about $50 to replace this little patch of Stonecrop, and I still don't think it would be filled in as nicely. And Stonecrop is this one right here, and it's one of the first things to flower early spring. It shoots up these yellow flowers that I'm not super crazy about. I'm actually more crazy about the foliage, but that's the one I want to protect. That's what I'm going to be covering over here. So I'm laying down the right length, and then I'm making sure it's doubled up because that's just my preference. And try to get it all with one piece. So then I tuck it under the plant. Now there's a little statue back here that I'm going to use to hold the back part of that cloth down. And then, so inside this little pot right here, there's a statue. So there's the Stonecrop, and this is some Aztec grass right here. So I just laid the fabric down, and I tucked it underneath this stone right there. And then right here's a rock. So any resource that's already here to hold this in place, I go ahead and use, because I don't want to have to use landscape staples. But what I'm going to do is go around this concrete right here. I'm going to go right here with a couple staples. Then I'm going to go under this bush, and this bush would probably be enough to protect the Stonecrop, but again, it's one of my favorites, and it's kind of pricey to replace, so that's why I'm covering it up. So any patch, you know, that you have established that you really love, and you, even if it does come back, but you just don't want to risk it, you know, feel free to go ahead and just invest in a little bit of this freeze cloth, because it's not pricey, and you can cut it to the size you want, and then you can store it. These spider plants are one of my favorites too, because it's got that beautiful color combination, but I have 100% faith in their performance, so I don't feel like I need to cover it. So I'm gonna put a landscape staple down here because there's a drip line there, and I want to punch that in while I can see the drip line. You don't have to put your staples all the way flat to the ground. It's not really about that. As long as the fabric is flat to the ground, then your staples are fine. I have this bucket that I just carry all my materials around in. I have my staples, a mallet, and the scissors is just in case I would need to cut the fabric for whatever reason. Because I can't stand having to stop a project and go back in for a tool. So I try to just have a bucket. I load it up with what I think I might need, and then head out with everything. There's some rocks under here, I think. There we go. And basically, you just want it tucked in enough to where if there were some big winds, that it's not going to be able to pick it up and blow it away. Place that there. And I'm pretty confident with all this. Now, the other thing I need to mention is this isn't always sufficient to keep your plants perfectly green. They may still get nipped by the frost, but what it does do is make sure the roots can't freeze, and that anything that does get nipped is going to be really fast to return, because it's definitely keeping it several degrees warmer than anywhere else. Okay, I think I'm good with that. Okay, and that's it. That's it for the Stonecrop. So you can see in there, it's really not much holding it down. There's a rock and a statue on this side, and then I really just have the landscape staples all along the edge. And now that is actually my second favorite plant. My first favorite plant would probably cost me, anywhere from $70 to $100 to replace. So that's the other reason why I'm going to cover it. I don't want to take any chances. So let me show you what that is. It's called Ajuga, and it's the Burgundy Glow, this variegated Ajuga, this creamy pink and purpley sage color is just probably my all-time favorite of Ajugas. And I love all Ajugas. I have a bunch of Ajugas, But this one, there's just something about it. It's taken me a few years to find a place that it's so happy. Here, this patch of Ajuga is about a good 4 feet. It's about 4 feet long and 2 to 3 feet wide. So I don't want to have to replace that. There's no way I could get it to naturalize that well in one season. So I'm gonna be covering this Ajuga, just this patch here, with the same thing, freeze cloth and landscape staples. Now this one could be opened up a whole nother time, or I could cut it, but I'm okay just leaving it like that and getting some of those ferns under there, even though I know all those ferns would come back. I'm just gonna utilize what's there. And this is the 3rd year I've had this frost cloth. I always have a bunch on hand because sometimes clients, they just want their landscape covered. So I always have a lot on hand, and it's been used and taken down several times. I know a couple years ago I planted a bunch of new stuff in my yard, so I covered a lot of it the first year. I will take the time to cover them the first year, but I don't on a regular basis make a habit of that, unless it's this situation, something I really like that would be costly to replace. I do like to make sure it's pulled tight as well. I feel like that's less of a chance that it can get picked up by the wind. So with each staple, I give it a little tug to keep it smooth and tight close to the ground. Now this area, this patch is probably a little bigger than 4 feet. It's probably closer to 5. Which, I mean, I would love for it to be 10 feet. I want this Ajuga to be as big as it's willing to get. But that's the whole patch. And the reason why it's kind of fluffy and not pulled real tight, because that is folded over so much that it's actually 4 layers. So it is getting dark already, so I'm running out of daylight. And so I got my 2 favorite plants covered. Okay, so we had about 3.5 days of freezing weather. 36 hours of that period was at or below freezing, and the lowest that we got, I think around here, the lowest temperature I saw was 21. But you know, that's all relative. But anyway, so you know, it was easily in the lower 20s. And during that 3 days, there was a period like 12 to 13 hours at a time where we stayed in the 20s. The lowest I saw this area get was 21. Some clients sent me screenshots of their temps being 18. So anywhere between 18 and 21 were the numbers that I got for probably, like, that's the coldest stretch overnight that we got. And then there was a whole day that we didn't really get above freezing. And then that day was sandwiched between other days in the 20s. But the high for one of the days was like 32. So that's a long stretch for us. And we haven't gotten to the end of our cold season yet. So I'm going to uncover this stuff, but I'm not going to put it away. I'm just going to let it hang out to dry and then tuck it away somewhere where it's still convenient to you, because there's another 3 to 4 weeks of potentially freezing weather, historically speaking. But here's my Ajuga. It actually survived, you know. And here's the thing about this. This plant is rated to be good, I want to say down to the 20s, maybe even teens, as well as my Stonecrop. When it gets close to where there's just a 5 to 10 degree difference in what the plant can have when it comes to my favorites, I go ahead and cover it and plan for the worst case scenario. I just don't trust the weatherman. I just err on the side of caution. And when it comes to something like this that I know I could not replace in a season easily or affordably, then I just go ahead and cover. It's just these 2 things. But that's my decision making process in this. So technically, since we only got into like the lowest around here was 18, I could have probably left both of these uncovered, but I still feel more comfortable knowing that they were covered. Okay, so it has been several days since the freezing weather, and we have one more day coming up in the forecast that's supposed to get into the 20s, but it's just one night. So I think this is good to uncover. Normally I like to pull the landscape staples out first, but I was really impatient to see my plants. Everything over here really looks pretty dang happy. Now what I'll need to do is lay out the fabric to dry, because it is still really wet from having the rain and ice on it, and it flies away really easy because it's lightweight. The dirt, all the dirt that's on it, once it's dry, that'll pretty much like kind of shake out, but while it's wet, it's all just sticky. So I usually clip it down some way. So I'm just going to use a couple stones there. And here's how the plant looks. It's all okay. Even the Aztec grass that normally dies back, I wasn't trying to protect that, but it got protected.